All right, Bears fans, let's talk. Because as much as we all love this team, there are a few things that keep holding the Chicago Bears back from really taking that next step. It's not about talent. This roster has plenty of that. It's not even about effort. These guys are fighting hard every single Sunday. What's really hurting them right now are the details, the little things that separate a good team from a great one. And until those small mistakes are cleaned up, the Bears are going to keep tripping over their own feet instead of running full speed ahead. Let's start with the most obvious problem, the one that even casual fans can point out: penalties. Way too many penalties. Every game, it feels like this team is giving away yards like it's a clearance sale. False starts, illegal formations, unnecessary holds, you name it. These are calls that come from bad luck or terrible officiating. Sure, some calls around the league are questionable. That's part of football, but most of what's been costing the Bears is self-inflicted. You can't line up wrong on a punt. You can't get flagged for a low block that wipes out a perfect return. These are things players learn in training camp, the basics that should be second nature by now. What's frustrating is how consistent these mistakes have been. After the bye week, the Bears have averaged around 10 penalties per game, costing them nearly 85 yards each time. That's basically gifting your opponent almost a full drive's worth of field position. Think about that. You work hard to get a stop, force a punt, and then one stupid penalty puts the other team right back in scoring range. It's exhausting, not just for the defense, but for the entire team's morale. And when it happens week after week, it's no longer bad luck, it's a bad habit. Head coach Ben Johnson has been talking a lot about accountability since he got to Chicago, and this is exactly where that message has to hit home. He said that the coaching staff can teach, can support, can help players understand the system, but at some point, the guys in the locker room have to take ownership. The veterans need to step up and set the standard. When your offensive line keeps jumping early or your special teams unit can't line up correctly, it's not just about discipline. It's about leadership. Someone in that huddle has to speak up and say enough. And it's not like there hasn't been progress in moments. Early in the season, you could see glimpses of cleaner play, fewer flags, more control. But then it slips again. One game, it's 12 penalties for over 100 yards. The next, it's 9 for 80. Those numbers aren't just stats, they're drive killers. They destroy momentum. How many times have we seen the Bears move the ball down the field, finally start a click, and then boom, holding call, false start, delay of game. Suddenly you're staring at 2nd and 20, the rhythm's gone, and instead of punching it into the end zone, you're settling for a field goal or punting it away. That brings us to another area that's been just as costly, the red zone. Earlier in the year, the Bears were actually solid when they got inside the 20. They were finishing drives, turning chances into touchdowns. But lately, it's been rough. Since week 3, the offense has struggled to cash in. Drives that should end in 6 points are stalling out. And it's not because the defense is suddenly unbeatable. It's because of those same little mistakes creeping back in. Missed blocks, miscommunication, penalties that back you up 5 or 10 yards when you're already within striking distance. When you look at the numbers, they tell the story perfectly. In the last month, Chicago has converted just about 31% of its red zone trips into touchdowns. That's near the bottom of the league. You can't win consistently in the NFL kicking field goals when everyone else is scoring 7s. Even if you just bump that number up to 50%, the whole narrative around this offense changes. The quarterback stats look better, the team puts more pressure on opponents, and suddenly games that fell out of reach start swinging your way. And speaking of quarterbacks, this affects Caleb Williams more than anyone. Every time a drive stalls inside the 20, people start talking. They question his decision-making, his composure, his leadership. But the truth is, it's not all on him. You can't expect a young quarterback to thrive when he's constantly facing 1st and goal from the 15 because of false start, or when a clean pocket turns into chaos because someone missed an assignment. These are team-wide issues, not individual failures. Football is a game of details, and right now the Bears are losing that battle. Take that opening drive in Baltimore, for example. Chicago marches right down the field, beautiful rhythm, balanced play calling, everything clicking. Then just a few yards from the end zone, the drive fizzles out. A weird play call, a missed block, a sack, and instead of 7 points, you walk away with 3. Moments like that shift the entire energy of a game. If you score there, you're up 10-0 and the pressure is on the other team. Instead, they hang around, gain confidence, and before you know it, momentum is gone. It's a pattern that repeats itself, promising starts that end in frustration because of execution. And the craziest part is that it's all fixable. These aren't problems of talent. They're problems of focus, preparation, and attention to detail. That's why it's so maddening for fans. You see what the team could be if they just clean up the sloppiness. The penalties, the red zone inefficiency, the missed chances, they all come from the same root issue. What's encouraging, though, is that this coaching staff doesn't seem to be ignoring it. Ben Johnson has been refreshingly honest about where the team is falling short. He's not blaming refs or injuries or bad luck. He's looking straight at the players and saying, we have to be better, and that's the first step to actually fixing it. Accountability has to be more than just a word. It has to be a mindset. Every position group, every player, has to take pride in doing their job cleanly and efficiently. There's still plenty of football left to play, and if the Bears can trim even a fraction of those self-inflicted mistakes, it changes everything. Cut the penalties down by 20% and you're extending drives instead of ending them. Improve your red zone execution and suddenly your scoring jumps by 10, maybe 14 points per game. That's the difference between losing tight games and closing them out. It's the difference between frustration and momentum. Because at the end of the day, that's what this all comes down to: details and discipline. The Bears don't need to reinvent themselves. They don't need some miracle trade or a brand new scheme. They just need to stop beating themselves. Football's hard enough when you're battling the opponent. It's impossible when you're battling yourself too. And right now, that's what Chicago has to conquer before anything else. Now, beyond the penalties and the red zone struggles, there's another major factor that keeps tripping this team up: special teams. It might not be the flashiest part of football, but it's often where games are quietly won or lost. And for the Bears, special teams have been a roller coaster this season. Moments of competence followed by stretches of frustration that leave you shaking your head. Field position, consistency, and execution on returns and coverage have all been problems. When you're already dealing with offensive inconsistencies, you can't afford to lose the hidden yardage battle every single week. Yet that's exactly what's been happening. Kickoff returns, for instance, have been a headache. Outside of a couple of nice bursts from Devin DuVernay, most returns barely make it past the 25-yard line. Sometimes they don't even reach the 20. That might not sound like a big deal, but in the NFL, every yard counts. Starting drives 5 or 10 yards behind where you should be changes your entire play-calling approach. It limits your options, it increases the pressure on your quarterback, and it often forces the offense into conservative decisions. Over time, that constant disadvantage starts to wear a team down. Then there's the flip side: kickoff coverage. Way too many times, the Bears are allowing opposing returners to cross the 30 or even the 35. That's a problem of discipline and lane integrity. Guys are over-pursuing, missing tackles, or simply getting out of position. It's not about athleticism. These are fixable mistakes, but it requires focus and repetition. You can tell that on film. Players drifting too far inside, leaving outside lanes wide open, or taking poor pursuit angles. All of that adds up, and before you know it, your opponent is starting at midfield while you're pinned back inside your own 20. That's a losing formula every time. And when you look at the numbers, it's easy to see why this matters. Over the course of a game, giving up an extra 5 yards per kickoff on both sides of the ball is essentially handing away an entire field's worth of yardage. That's one full drive the opponent didn't earn. One more chance for their offense to score, and one less for yours. Field position is a hidden weapon in football, and right now the Bears are disarming themselves. The frustrating part is that special teams aren't just about returns and coverage. It's also about avoiding penalties. And that's another area where Chicago keeps shooting itself in the foot. You finally get a solid return, something that could give your offense a spark, and boom, flag on the play. Illegal block in the back. Low block. Holding. Instead of starting at the 35, you're suddenly back at the 15. It's deflating. You can feel the air go out of the team when it happens because it's always the same story. The players know better, but the execution just isn't matching the preparation. The Bears have had bright spots, of course. The special teams unit looked much improved against New Orleans, for example, playing one of their cleaner games of the year. But isolated performances don't change the overall pattern. You can't rely on flashes of good play when the baseline is below average. This phase of a game has to become reliable again. It has to be something that gives the Bears an edge, not another area of concern. Then you have the kicker situation, which is quietly becoming something to watch. Cairo Santos has been steady for years, but lately his limitations are becoming hard to ignore. Inside 50 yards, he's as dependable as they come. Beyond that, though, it's a different story. You saw earlier in the season a 58-yard attempt that came up short, a 50-yarder that barely squeaked through. In today's NFL, where kickers like Chris Boswell or Jake Elliott are drilling 56-yarders like it's nothing, those missed opportunities stand out. They change the way a coach calls a game. When you're at the opponent's 40, most teams are comfortable lining up for a long field goal. The Bears, on the other hand, hesitate. That's not just a kicking issue. It's a strategic handicap. And it's not about blaming Santos personally. He's been accurate, consistent, and professional for a long time. But at 33 years old, with a leg that doesn't quite have the same pop, it's fair to wonder how much longer he can keep up. There's talk about giving Jake Moody a shot down the line, and honestly, that makes sense. He's younger, stronger, and could be the long-term solution. You don't want to be the team that hangs on to a reliable veteran just a little too long, only to watch a young, talented kicker thrive somewhere else. Still, the more immediate concern is the overall effectiveness of the special teams. You can't control everything, the wind, the bounce of the ball, the officiating, but you can control effort, focus, and fundamentals. When you're missing tackles, taking bad angles, and committing unnecessary fouls, those are all correctable mistakes. That's why they're so frustrating to watch, because they're not about talent, they're about attention. The Bears aren't losing because they're outmatched. They're losing because they're out of rhythm. The offense moves the ball well enough to compete. The defense holds its own in most games. But when special teams are constantly putting you behind the sticks, forcing your offense to go 85 yards every drive while the opponent only has to go 60, the math just doesn't work. It wears a team down physically and mentally. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling through the NFL community after recent comments from quarterback Justin Fields, and fans can't stop speculating. Sources close to the young star suggest that Fields, once hailed as the future of the Chicago Bears, is quietly regretting his decision to leave the Windy City behind. The revelation, dropped in a surprisingly candid interview, has ignited a frenzy across social media and sports talk shows alike. According to insiders, Fields admitted that his move away from the Bears, an organization that drafted him with high expectations, has been more complicated than he anticipated. While the exact reasons for his decision remain personal, the quarterback's hints of second thoughts have fueled a flurry of rumors about potential returns, or at least a desire to reconcile with the team that first believed in him. Fans remember his electric performances during his tenure in Chicago, from game-winning drives to his uncanny ability to escape pressure, and now the idea that he may have left too soon is causing waves of nostalgia and debate. The NFL rumor mill has already begun connecting dots, with some speculating that Fields' current environment may not have met his expectations or that team dynamics elsewhere have proved challenging. Analysts are split. Some argue that a player of Fields' caliber thrives on change and the new opportunities ahead, while others believe his heart may still beat strongest for the Bears' purple and orange. In locker rooms across the league, conversations are reportedly buzzing about the possibility of a mid-career what-if scenario, imagining what might have been had Fields stayed in Chicago. Though no official statements from the Bears or Fields' current team confirm any imminent moves, the intrigue alone is enough to keep fans glued to every snippet of news. One thing is clear. In a league where loyalty, timing, and opportunity collide, Justin Fields' journey is far from predictable. And for Bears fans, The idea that their former star quarterback might be having second thoughts is a storyline too tantalizing to ignore. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.